Hi, I'm David,
Hi, I'm Steve.
and we just got done watching episode 2 of season 5 of Walking Dead, Strangers, in which we meet a new character, Father Gabriel, and a lot of storylines are set up. We have Beth's storyline coming back up again, with Daryl and Carol going after Beth. We have the issue of whether or not we're going to be going to Washington, D.C., and we have a new group of enemies from Terminus. So what'd you think?
I thought this was a solid episode. I thought it set a lot of pieces in motion for what's to come. It had a slightly slower pace than what we saw last week. It was not a climax, but more of a resolution to what we just saw last week. It was great to see the characters in a happy place all together again, which we haven't seen in a while. A lot of smiles and laughter and reunions and everything, so that was good. And yeah, the end of the episode definitely set up a lot of interesting things to come. So
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a solid episode. It, like you said, it set a lot of story trains down their tracks, and it's got me excited to see what's coming next. I'm excited to find out what's going to happen with Beth's storyline, because that was I thought that was a really interesting story that they left as a cliffhanger last season. I'm excited to see more about how the story progresses towards Washington, D.C. and what's going to happen there, because we've had 4 seasons of the show now in Georgia, and it's kind of excited to think about the show maybe going to a completely different location.
yeah,
And I'm interested to see what happens with this new Father Gabriel character.
it was great that they didn't drag out their stay at the church. Mm-hmm. That this episode immediately moved them into a bunch of different directions to go, instead of staying at the farm for an entire season for one plot thread. They've already had all these different things, like you said, going to find Beth.
Right.
So the teams are already starting to split up.
Right.
Carol was already getting ready to leave. Bob is, who knows if he's going to make it.
Right. Definitely. A story often feels like it has momentum when there is literally momentum and you're moving around.
Right.
So I think that will help.
So what were some of the highlights of this episode for you?
Well, for me, I was really excited when I saw that car with the cross on the back again speed down the street. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it,
right,
and it gave me a thrill. I'm like, oh, yes, we're back to the storyline.
Yeah, I definitely was not expecting that so soon. Just like last week, how I wasn't expecting the Terminus plot to be resolved in that single episode.
Right.
So this season definitely seems to have a lot of
surprises.
I
like being surprised.
A lot of momentum. It's going, instead of what we've seen in past seasons where it tends to drag out. It seems like they're definitely trying to resolve that issue this season.
Right, and I like with Bob's character, I really felt like I had an idea of what was going on when he left the church and went outside, and I totally did not expect him to get kidnapped. So obviously that leads us to the biggest part of the episode, in my opinion, which is the holy crap, they're eating Bob.
Yeah, that was... despite all the graphic zombie gore and everything, which I've become completely desensitized to at this point.
Yeah.
And there was some good stuff in this episode with more waterlogged zombies, which is always
that kind of grossed me out.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
But seeing those people eating Bob in front of Bob was disturbing.
Gave you the chills, right?
It's disturbing on a whole nother level than just zombie gore.
Right. And what a way to really set up some bad guys. There's just something in human nature of, when you're killing and eating other human beings, like take the Road, for instance.
Yeah.
You know that those are bad friggin' dudes. Yeah. They are irredeemably bad, and only horrible things are going to happen when they're in the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever they do with Garrett's character, he ate people.
Right.
In front of the people who he was eating. I mean, he can't turn out to be someone that we end up accepting as a member of any kind of group.
There's no redeeming. What Bob said earlier in the episode, that Rick was right, that they should have finished them off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's clearly been the case.
Right.
They should have finished them off, and now they're going to end up regretting that decision.
Yep.
So we had 2 characters that seemed like they were ready to leave the group. I got the impression when Bob stepped out that he was maybe contemplating suicide.
I thought that was what was going to happen. I thought that what happened was he got bit by one of the zombies during by one of the water zombies when they were collecting the food, and that he didn't let anyone know that he was setting up a final moment with the woman he loved by asking for a kiss, and then he was walking outside of the group and he was just going to finish himself off.
That's what I thought. And then we had Carol, who had the car ready and she was getting ready to leave before Daryl came out.
And Daryl asked her what she was doing, and she said, "I don't know."
Yeah,
so I believe her. I don't think she really knew what she was doing.
I think she doesn't feel like she fits in anymore.
Right.
Is the impression I get. So she doesn't really know where she belongs.
I think she's skeptical as to whether or not she's really going to be fully accepted.
Yeah.
By the group after they found out what she did.
So, was there anything in the episode that you didn't like?
If I had to give the episode some criticism, it would be that because it was just a setting things up episode, not much really happened. But I don't really think of that as a criticism because I like these serialized storylines, and I know that all these things they set up are going to get paid off in future episodes.
And also, even though this was a setup episode, they did introduce a new character, and there were a lot of great character moments between the group that we already know, which I'm always glad to see more of. Like I said, it's been a long time since we've seen the whole group together.
Right, and it's a long time since most of them have seen each other, so it makes sense that they need that cathartic moment of, oh yay, we're all back together.
Yeah, just to be torn apart again.
Right.
I would give this episode a solid A. This was another great entry.
Yeah, me too. I mean, my biggest fear was that episode 2, after coming down from the tension and drama and excitement of episode 1, that it was going to seem really slow, but it didn't seem that way to me, so I give it an A.
Yep. So good episode.
Yep.
That does it for this week. We both liked this episode. We both gave it an A.
If you liked this episode, give us a like and hit subscribe.
And if you want to share your thoughts on this episode of The Walking Dead, leave a comment below because we want to know, what did you think?